that bright light on, thinking that would, but it's not bright enough, evidently. Let's see. Hi guys, it's Alan. Again, target individual Alan here. I even tried the Q wave so far, but nothing. Anyway, it's been about 2 weeks. It was $100, but other people swear by him, and about 2 weeks, and all the golf people swore by him. You know, tons of them, and it might work for others, but I just I don't want to be for people who need it. I suggest trying it. I just, for myself, I'm a TI, so you really think I know for a fact I'm going through this EMF, ELF, electrical, the low frequency stuff. I know it, and I just haven't, So, but other people swear by them, so that's what made me want to try it. So it might be in time. They say to try it for about a month. So, and so I'm still trying it. Anyway, I'm reading The Invisible Crime, Michael Bell. A targeted individual, synthetic telepathy, global criminal, biomedical, human experimentation. When you are a TI, you know, part 2, you know very well how weird this sounds, and how hard it is to believe. But when you are a TI and you have V2K, he doesn't have V2K, he said in his book. But when you have V2K and you get these little jolts, this was at the same time Havana syndrome was in the news. And there's this group out there, they're the super elite group called, since 1960s, called the Jasons during the Cold War. They meet in near San Diego, La Jolla, California, during the months. They get about $1,200. I only won a couple. I read a couple articles on it. I guess they get $1,200 a day. And they're the best of the best, cream of the crop. So it's quite an ego thing. And they've been around since 1960 to put their brains together. A lot of physicists, I guess when it comes to, they branch out, they have different groups, but there's a lot of physicists and engineers. And I don't know, like the creationists in San Diego, or El Calhoun, they got a lot of engineers too. But anyway, why it went off in there, I don't know. Henry Morris and John Morris, anyway. But, very smart people. But in this article, they're like, they are the ones that will put their heads together and come out with a smart conclusion. It's not the conclusion you might want to hear, but it's an independent, scientifically verified. And ultimately, there's for years, I don't know if Trump disbanded them, or he was going to. But the thing is, they came out towards the end of the Havana syndrome. And these are the smartest and the brightest of, physicists and different types of scientists and different general fields. And with all that brain power, and pretending and acting like they didn't know or didn't even know of these patents of directed energy weapons. And that have been around for the last 40, 50, 60 years themselves, these weapons. And they came with all their brain power put together, and they said it's crickets, mass hysteria crickets. And even a journalist a great journalist like Jennifer Griffin from Fox News showed, here's the patents to the technology. Here it is. Here's the patents. There's tons of these patents that validate not only what Havana syndrome. I don't know if the FBI and CIA are getting hit, because all you can do is hear what they're going through, and you know what you're going through. And we've been raised through the last decades to hear, when you hear, oh, we're hearing voices, that sounds like what happens to the crazy people that go to shoot up, but Myron May and other target individuals, Gavin Long, Aaron Alexis, and I never held a gun. I've never done anything, but they did it to me too. I studied for the ministry, and they were doing this shocking stuff in high school, and then in Bible college, around starting probably 87 after I broke my arm in football. So, and this was in the hospital in Dallas is where they fixed my arm, and within some months, suddenly they're doing that. That's happening to me. Anyway, I spent 30 years with God. What is this? Are you going to help me? I mean, what is this? And what happens is it shoots you in the part of the heart to the point where it becomes deadened. I mean, it just boom, boom. And then it's not just a shot, but then you notice that your heart doesn't feel like there's a numbing. And now when you, it's almost like they put some kind of electric biometric thing in your heart, just like pacemakers they do. And then they can push a button and make it go, and it's a numbing thing. I didn't have that for 30 years, but I had this pain, this constant pain that would sometimes go from here, but it was always in this area. It wasn't up here, there. It was always right here, the lower part. And it's kind of like, I guess it's similar to what broken heart syndrome, or what old ladies have when a loved one, like their husbands, die or something, that because it's right here and it hurts and it pulls on, it's heavy. And it makes it feel a pain, and because it's a pain, it makes you feel depressed. And but I lived that way for 30 years, and it was a chronic. Now I was thankful for my doctors. They sent me to specialists after suffering with this for over 10 years. They sent me to specialists, and they got me on OxyContin. At least I was thankful for that. But I lived 30 years, literally every hour, saying, God, and I worked. I had pain meds, thank God for that. I wish I didn't have OxyContin, but they didn't know at the time how bad OxyContin was. I wish I would have just stuck with pill form method. Actually, what I wish now as a TI is I wish I didn't break my arm and end up in the Dallas hospital and have them put something in my body. And this is a very religious, evangelical, conservative town. But it's weird to think, and I just assumed, well, these are good people. I literally thought my entire life these were pretty good people. I thought the police were good. I thought the city hall people were good. I literally didn't have any enemies, ever. I thought they were good people. It's not like they went out of their way to be good to me, but they didn't do anything much shitty. I just thought they were pretty good. If you're good, they're good to you, and if you try not to piss people off at night. But I didn't know. The only thing I knew is I had chronic for 30 years in high school, Bible college, all the way through 45, a constant chronic pain on my side. And never headaches, never anything else, just right here. I broke my arm, but that healed up. And around 40, when I was 45 in Dallas working as a CNA, again, and then they started with the V2K stuff through the ceiling. I'm not ceiling, but the floor. Underneath me, there's a garage that belonged to the neighbors. And they just kept hitting me. And you didn't know, you just know somebody's fucking with you. And I'm thinking, well, I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't. And they actually did. I mean, I was depressed, but I had this constant one hope, wish. God, just, what is this? Show me what this is. Well, more importantly, heal me. Let me know what it is and heal me every hour, practically. Just what is it? Why can't I get the feeling or a normal And they'll say, well, it's because you're on pain meds. No, this was happening to me because I was getting zapped right here. And it started, when you get hit in the heart, obviously the heart where you get a lot of your emotions, your extreme emotions, it becomes numbed because of it. When it constantly, it's like, and you don't think you're part of some experiment or testing. I literally never thought that I was part of the Star Wars Reagan experimental, this technology. My doctor just said, out of the blue, just everything was fine. Just like, nobody's going to help you. You got to, nobody's going to ever help you. It's like I did something wrong. And then I realized in the other TI stuff, they'll try to make it feel like that you did something wrong. And they're holding up their cameras and videotaping you. And it's like, well, I didn't do anything wrong to any of these people. And these are predominantly conservative, Republican, evangelical Christians. And yet they just went right along with this torture program that's meant intentionally to torture you, to make you try to kill yourself. And this is done in Dallas. This is while they're chanting, "Drain the swamp." They want everybody else in Washington, D.C. and their corruption to be gone. But while they're chanting that at their little get-togethers, drain that swamp. Drain. And I did vote for Trump myself. I would have for Bernie, but I saw what the Democrats did to Bernie. They sandbagged him. They quadruple teamed and got the other people out of the race so that all those people would go to Biden. I liked Biden, but I just wanted Bernie. But after what they did, like Trump said, they rigged it against you, Bernie, and they did. They even admit that now. Anyway, so I thought, well, Trump's an outsider. So there was a hope that he would try to get rid of the corruption. Anyway, you realize just how corrupt. It's like Francis Collins, someone I loved because I loved apologetics and philosophical theology. And he wrote books on it, besides the human genome. And then to find out he was part of the NIH and part of that experimentation on people. And Fauci's wife, Dr. Fauci, which in Italian can mean sickle, like the angel of death, or a gaping jaw, like a jaw that's gaping open like a mouth of a volcano or something. I'm not into saying that a name is predestination to I'm not saying that. It's just, sometimes it's just ironic. But that they are doing this, that they will even corrupt such an elite team of scientists like the Jasons, who they're all those years of work, their scientific acumen, their scientific top of the game, only to $1,200 a day, ultimately just as corrupt. And they know about these patents for this technology, for the directed energy weapons. They know about this stuff. They're consulted to make this stuff. And when it comes down to it, they already have jobs during the year for their universities for the 3 months that they're working on the Jason project. And they didn't want it shut down after 60 years, so they decided to throw their little heads together. We think it's crickets. The government told them to say it's crickets in Cuba. Even though if you do 5 to 10 minutes of digging for the patents and for the evidence of these, it's, if you look harder, you can find pictures of what these weapons used to look like, but now they've been, made smaller. But that they have these milliliter and scalar waves, but they're so also at the same time. I mean, if you look at the White House bioethics, all these regular people that are getting hit and experimented on, this was before Havana syndrome, before anybody heard. Can you imagine being a targeted individual like Harold Gerard and these different people, Eleanor White, Cheryl Walsh? Can you imagine being a TI before Havana syndrome, before everybody's heard about this? And literally the only thing is just the movies where they make people who hear voices sound like they're crazy. And there was only one, I think CBS, I have it on my playlist. If you look on, videos and created playlists on my YouTube, then it shows one of the things saying that it's not just crickets, it's also voices. They hear voices and a message. Now, that was the only one I had heard of all the news reports about Havana syndrome, that they weren't just crickets or high-pitched sounds, that there was also voices and a message. Now, we know that the CIA works with a lot of, it used to be in the 70s, they admitted like 500 news journalists to put out any message they want. It used to be the journalists would fight the government, would expose the CIA, Operation, Suck or whatever his name, Deep Throat. They were supposed to combat against the government. But now, especially after the pandemic, all these hospitals and journalists just do the bidding, and Facebook. They just do the bidding, and if you don't go down the party line of what the government says, then you're a heretic, and you should be censored. It used to be burned at the stake like they did, the Christians did to, and I studied to be a Christian minister myself, like John Calvin did to Michael Servetus. Now, if somebody has a different opinion on theology, they'll just torture them. Torture them. Try to make them commit suicide and take their shit, take their money. It's like the Catholic Thomas Aquinas. I forgot the name of his classic book, but on heretics, what do? Give them a chance or two to deconvert and become Catholic again. If they don't, if they don't convert back to the Catholic faith, then, bring once or twice to change their mind. If they don't, then kill them and take their shit. Because it's better for them to not be alive and infect other people with their poisoned ideology that might lead people to hell and take money from people. Converting other people with their ideas, like a different religion, like Protestant, Mormonism, Jehovah's Witness, humanist. Oh, God forbid. They might believe in free will, like an Arminian Christian or something, or when is enough enough? Do people all have to be Calvinist? Do they all have to be Arminian free will Christians like Billy Graham? Or are they, what happens? A few years ago, all these Christians were going to vote for a Mormon. They Mitt Romney, which, fine. But it's like, but suddenly when it comes to religion, if somebody doesn't, then they're going to gang up and torture somebody for having a different opinion on theology, and torture them and try to get that person to kill themselves. In fact, they will know they are Christians by their love. They'll ultimately realize they're Christians by their corruption and torture. Their ability to throw innocent people under the bus, torture them, and make them try to commit suicide, and then get, who knows, life insurance money. This is what happened to me in Dallas. 30 years of torture having to take. And I thought, well, it's one thing. They don't know what caused it. You have a constant pain. They don't know it. But that's not what happened. 30 years of literally believing, hey, nobody can fix everything. And then you get V2K. And then you find out 90% of all the people with V2K also have Havana syndrome or direct energy pains caused by this, whether an implant and then they push an electrode, a biometric thing that was put in there. And that's what happened. First was V2K through the wall. And when you don't have V2K and you've never heard of it, it sounds like crazy talk. It just sounds like crazy talk. But you just know 100% this is real. All the books out there. I've got like 5 books. There's John Hall's book. There's Dr. Duncan's. The one about the Idaho, the federal targeted individual program. And about the Idaho Fusion Center. And it's just like, There's like at least 100 some odd different books. I mean, in the back of that book, it lists 110 books in the bibliography in the last 10 years. And I can still hear the V2K saying, this is wrong, he's good, he doesn't deserve, all the time. But they still keep doing it. That'd be like the Christians in Dallas, who I always thought were I was raised evangelical. But still, they don't want to stop it because that might mean they would have to give up the money, or it might be embarrassing for them to admit it out loud. Kind of like somebody receiving a blowjob. Or they had a one-night stand. They're willing to torture somebody, not like a one-night stand of torture, doing something dumb after getting drunk and high. Every day they pay people to go along with this program. While they're chanting "Drain the Swamp," they're still paying people to go along with torture. And I don't know what happened to freedom. I am so thank God for Dr. Matt, Dr. Seth, and Ella Free Meads, the people I met there, because they were the ones that let me know. I am so forever thankful for them. And what they have done for the community. I hope that we can hear from them again soon. I know how much they have helped for those 3 years, 2017, 2018, 2019, and then the pandemic kind of put a damper on everything. But I'm thankful that of all the people I was thankful for. At first, I was thankful for my doctors for at least sending me to specialists to get pain meds. And then 30 years of living in pain, then you realize with V2K, I didn't have to be in this pain at all. I could have lived my entire life totally different every single day and not be living constantly in pain with very little, if any, much emotion, because that's what it does. And to your brain, by hitting the basal ganglia with whatever, causing some OCD or who knows. The stuff that they do that they don't tell us. It's like Francis Collins at the NIH taking preemie babies and not telling the doctors, not telling the nurses, or even the parents of these preemie babies, 1,300 different babies and families at 5 different hospitals. I think Stanford, Duke, University of Alabama at Birmingham, and not telling them. Now, I've read about 4 or 5 articles on that. That was from Consumer. I forgot the name of it right now, but they're taking babies and adjusting the oxygen and not telling the parents, just to see how preemies do with lesser oxygen or more. Now, I know that the government puts false stories in there, so I don't know 100% because there's 4 or 5 stories I've read on that subject. But I know that they experiment on dogs, they experiment on us. If you look at the White House bioethics thing in 2011, 2012, everyday people, that they're doing the same thing to. And it was all over the news with Havana syndrome. Jennifer Griffith showed the patents to it. But ultimately, the best of the best, for $1,200 a day, the Jason Group decides, it's crickets. Yeah, we'll lie for you, government. We'll protect you. We'll lie for you. We won't admit whatever all the other scientists know for the last 50 years. Oh, yeah, scalar waves, millimeter, all these military-grade technologies that have frequency areas that are only used for military. And we're trying to stop it so we won't get tortured. But then they throw these roadblocks, gang stalking, electronic harassment, constant pain, by the way. And you'd think, there's a lot of Christians here. They would put a stop. A lot of Christians would work. Well, there's a lot of wonderful Christian people that are Mormons that work in Dales Bluff, Utah, that work for the NSA. And you think they wouldn't steal your information but yet they're doing it. And 38 towns were competing for that job too, to steal your information and spy on you. But I guess they think they're patriotic to spy on you, innocent Americans. And I'm sure there's other Protestants. If the Mormons didn't do it, there's enough Protestants to do it. I'll tell you one thing. I think the only group of people that weren't willing to torture people was Thailand. The government went in there and said, yeah, we want to go get these bats, coronavirus bats, and bring it into the population. And Thailand's like, well, we know you want to give us money, but that sounds like a fucked up idea. Taking these bats that are miles away from people and intentionally bringing them into a population of people, hoping that they start a brand new super virus. And Thailand's like, no, that sounds dangerous. Like Obama saying to Fauci, no, that's risky, that's bad, don't do it. Fauci and Collins did it anyway. Millions of Americans died, and many are alive living with those horrible decisions, and they're not in prison. They're not dead. They're not in prison. They're celebrated as heroes for the vaccine and the money they made off of our dead bodies. That is the new type of Protestant Catholic Christianity we got in America now. As long as they get paid, they got theirs. That's all they care about. Anyway, I'm thankful for the TIs. It's good to get anger. Because I spent all these years thinking that the people in my town were just nice, good people. I didn't have a reason to be angry. I just was in pain. But I never thought that they did it to me on purpose for money. A Christian town, like conservative evangelical Christian town like Dallas, and now Salem, which is liberal, but torturing innocent people for money and trying to get them to off themselves. That's disgusting. They're a nightmare. I hope to be their nightmare. And I'm thankful for Dr. Matt and Ella and Meegs and the people that had some just godly anger, just fucking pissed off about doing this to people, babies. I don't know if I think the Fusion Center blocks people from even watching my videos, but I'm trying to put them out there. All these people, we need somebody out there. And I'm doing the same thing they're doing. They're making videos. They're doing, some of them have thousands of views and thousands. Nobody. I got 35, 40 videos. Nobody. They block people from even watching. They sometimes put a fake person subscriber or fake people that write. That's it. Anyway, I got to make lunch for my mom. So I'll talk to you guys later. I'm sorry, Mom. It was a heavy thing to talk about, but I'm glad I could vent. So. Other TIs that are real, I'm thinking about you, and I'm glad that Havana syndrome's out there. So TIs before Havana syndrome, I couldn't imagine what they had to go through. At least now people can kind of relate to what we're going through. I'll talk to you later, guys. All right, bye-bye. Dr. Hamilton is perfect for me.